Thank you, Thomas. I like your view of the city as a caring mother. I would like to see Copenhagen as my caring mother. Well, Signe, I know that you have great insight to how to achieve a diverse and integrated urban development. Would you make your statement now?
Yes, but first, does it work? Yes?
Yeah, I think so.
You can hear me.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you for inviting me here today. And originally I thought I was the outsider in this group. Maybe we are all outsiders, and that is the whole idea of town planning, that it holds so many aspects, which is a bit funny when you have at the same time to boil your statement down into a very short, almost like a political speech. And it may seem even very superficial giving your statement in this way. I hope we'll be able to elaborate it on in a further talk. But at the same time, it has to be very clear what I stand for and what we believe in our office concerning town planning. And I might go a little bit back in time, explaining you why we think the way we do. I've tried to organize my statements in 3 headlines. One is density, one is diversity, and one is scale. Density is the challenge and the solution. Our approach to town planning is a break with modern town planning ideas which were put forth in the Athens Charter by the early modernists in the 30s, ideas which praised mobility and the car as a means for transport. In much the same way as so-called modern town planning claimed to build cities for the benefit of the people, we claim that a dense city structure is the most sustainable answer to a series of problems of modern man. Carlsberg, which was introduced by Hans Christian, was our sort of start in the town planning business, and for us was the whole it was like an experiment which hasn't been carried all the way through, but we have been able to practice all our ideas during this project. And this Carlsberg site is planned to be a very, very dense neighborhood, mixing old with new, leaving space for history and for social interaction. The framework of the city is the public space, offering interesting streets, passages, squares and gardens. Number 2 is diversity. Diversity is crucial. The functional city of the Athens Charter was the divided city where housing, work and recreation are placed apart and linked by traffic. In Carlsberg, everything is mixed up, living, working and recreating with short distances and hardly any traffic as a result. Large flats, small digs, family homes and apartments for the elderly, cheap and expensive, they're all present and part of a socially responsible community where life is both interesting and democratic. You're actually able to meet people and are not alienated by strangers because they all live right next door. Diversity is also architectural diversity. Modern and old together, old buildings are reused for public functions for 2 reasons. One, it is more cost effective to transform a former power plant into a museum or a community center than turning it into a block of flats. And second, the beautiful old buildings constitute an important communal identity. They belong to all of us. They're part of our mutual history. New buildings are all built as hyper-modern, state-of-the-art, best practice, zero-energy buildings. We are building on concepts which may seem to the outsider as like a medieval plan, but we are not doing a Prince Charles, you may say, because we are certainly interested in doing very modern architecture and applying with all these green technologies. And diversity is also including a lot of architects. In Carlsberg, diversity is building new, literally right up against the old. No easy crane track solutions. Diversity or complexity, you may say, is also making room for the supply network, sewers, waste management, etc. under the narrow streets. It is placing underground car parking under the entire city. It is building a new train station, erecting slender high-rises next to small historic monuments. Diversity is mixing functions and making room for the unexpected. Green technology is only a means for getting there. The last one is scale. Scale is human. The human scale was lost with the Athens Charter. Efficiency and an admiration of technology turn modern town planning into inhuman master plans with enormous buildings and vast landscapes. Density and diversity do not solve the problems alone. A human scale, where public space is literally carved out of the building mass, and urban space that represent the best of both worlds, the dense town plan. Urban space is treated as rooms inside a building, having sheltering walls and a pleasant climate. Not Tiananmen Square, but small plazas of varying sizes offering different uses for different people. Care is taken everywhere in offering interesting environments, and the ground floors of all buildings are treated for that same purpose. Blocks for housing are not more than 5 or 6 stories high. Scale is also offering contrast, the irrational, high-rises and parasites. And finally, my statement is that the Athens Charter was equally focused on planning the perfect world, and many problems were taken care of. However, it is our belief that the fascination of technology and order eradicated empathy, the need for social interaction, and the well-being of man in public space, you may say. In the same way, it is our firm conviction that the quest for green technology and the search for a sustainable environment never stand in the way of empathy and the social well-being of man. Creating a well-functioning city environment leaves room for responsibility and good behavior.
Thank you very much. I think that you made some very, very important point at the very beginning, that we are all outsiders. Nobody here can make the solution themselves. They have to do it in cooperation with other people, with all levels of society to make integrated solutions. Martin, you're next.
Yeah, thank you. Well, up till today, and as this day, when we build to protect ourselves against the climate. That is the primary function of a building, to protect us against wind and sun and rain. But that's wrong. In the future, talking about building for the future, we must build to protect the climate against us, you, me, us, and our enormous waste of energy consumption. Why is that? That is because when you look upon cities as now and in the future, they will grow to an enormous scale to mega cities. There is many people moving towards the cities, and we have an exploding population in the world going from 6 billion to 9 billion in the next coming years. So today Copenhagen is not, it's still a capital, but it's more a village than it is a big city. It is a fact that before 2050 we need to build more buildings that exist of today. That leads to scarce resources, not only when it comes to energy, but when it comes to materials, components and water. And then the last thing, and a very important thing, and it's going on right now. Someone right now out there in the outside of this building is suffering due to climate change. We saw it this summer, we saw it in Pakistan, we saw it in Russia, and we even saw it in Denmark. That climate change is going on, and actually right now it puts a lot of pressure on our infrastructure, our sewages, our dams, our harbors, and cities along the seas. Okay, that was the challenges. What shall we then do to overcome these challenges? First, when you look upon scarce resources, I think, and it has also been mentioned by the others, co-creation, collaboration between partners, between companies, between municipalities and businesses, that's the way forward. When it comes to buildings, I think there will be a new design parameter in an upcoming year. First of all, there's the energy questions, but also maybe we need to look upon design from another angle. We don't need to reinvent things all the time so that we start all over when we erect a building. We should see also building as a system more than individual things. We should start to create buildings from the inside out, starting to design the core, and then ending up with a very exciting facade and an impression. And then maybe some of you heard about the concept cradle to cradle. We should in the years to come start to think in a more circular way, where we look upon material flow from cradle to cradle, and also look upon the technical side. The most important question there, I think, also from a business perspective, is to answer who owns the waste? Who should take responsibility for the waste that we produce in the coming years? Should it be the producers, the consumers, the municipalities, or the businesses? Who owns the waste? We should integrate the sun and the extreme weather forecasts for the coming years in our building for the future. And when you look upon and talking about the sun, I was glad that also Johan mentioned this. When we look at the sun, actually it's only 8 minutes away, and it's wireless, and it has all the energy that we need. We should just bring it to the earth. When it comes to megacities, I think one of the answers there is also co-creation. Maybe not so much of the people in this room today, but merely co-creation between the developing countries and the developed world. Please don't let them do the mistakes that we have done the last 30 to 50 years. So we have a lot of knowledge today that we can try to export. Then also I think, and Thomas was into this, about the father demanding things from businesses. I agree upon that, but I would also like to be the father then to the municipalities. First of all, when businesses have actually signed the UN Global Compact, I would like that the municipalities will ask and support companies that are actually taking those actions. So also support businesses in that direction. Then when it comes to ongoing climate change, and it's already happening, I think we should be also not forgetting this huge challenge we have to extreme weather. And we should think that into the building of the future and the cities that we start to design already now. So I think that will be the statement for the moment.
Okay, thank you very much.